mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. Today, I'm here to talk about a film I watched last night. It's the second film from the director Robert Eggers entitled The Lighthouse. Now, if I've ever talked to you about like horror films or suspense films at all, I usually have a handful that I speak of and that I recommend, because generally I don't really like horror films. I find them to be usually of very poor quality in pretty much every way imaginable, including the way it's supposed to be of high quality, which is the fright factor. I never find them to be scary. The plausibility of them is awful. The acting is awful. The storylines are awful. I generally just don't like horror movies. But if you have talked to me about horror movies at all, one movie that I speak incredibly highly of is Eggers' first film, The Witch, which came out in 2015. I thought it was an absolutely phenomenal film. I was really blown away seeing it. Like I said, I generally don't like horror, and I would maybe even hesitate to call it horror, but we'll stick with that just for consistency's sake. But I thought that movie was amazing. So when I saw that he had something else, a second film coming out, I was really gung-ho about seeing it. And if you know anything about this movie at all, you know that it was released in 2019. So apparently I wasn't as gung-ho as I thought I was. But it was always on my list of things to watch, and I just never got around to it. And my wife and I have started watching movies instead of focusing so much on television shows to kind of, bring some balance to our viewing. And we've been watching films a lot lately, and we kind of alternate whether or not, who picks the movie that night. She picks it, I pick it. She pick, I pick. And The Lighthouse was my pick. I figured, it's probably about time I check this out. And man, I got to tell you guys, I fucking loved this movie. And I think it is a borderline a crime how few award nominations this film got. It only got a nomination for cinematography. And again, granted, a reminder, this is from 2019. So we're talking about the 2020 Oscars, Golden Globes, whatever. I've seen a lot of the films that come out, period. But in 2019, I saw a lot of the films that were nominated for awards, whether that be for Best Picture, for the acting performances, what have you. And very little of what was nominated was better or on par with The Lighthouse. This was a phenomenal film. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop analyzing it mentally. It's just top notch. I mean, man, this is so good. And here's the thing. I want to explain to you guys, and I think me explaining to you guys how I kind of how I look at film or television will help you understand if this is a film that's for you or not. Because that's the purpose of this channel, right? The idea is to, hey, I watched this thing and I'm going to let you know if it's worth your time. But the problem is, maybe you and I have different, different desires in our film viewing. Maybe I watch something and I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley. And I say, hey, you should watch this thing. And then you watch it, you're like, this was not for me at all. And I think it would help if I, before I actually start talking about the film, if I explain how I approach my film viewing and how this film just really hit a lot of really high marks with me. So I look at film and television, any kind of like visual media is kind of like a stew, right? It's comprised of a variety of things. You have your obviously you have your plot line, you have your acting, you have your costume, sound, editing, cinematography, music, all of these things, right, that go into making these projects. And that's why sometimes if you follow me on social media, I might watch a trailer for something and I'll say, this has all the ingredients of something that's going to be great. And I use the term ingredients very purposefully because that's how I look at film. Like, if your only ingredient that jumps out to me is, say, one solitary actor, but the storyline looks shitty, it's a shitty director, the trailer sucks, and you could tell like it's just some mindless action film or something like that, that's not enough good ingredients. But if I look at your trailer or the IMDb page for your film, and I'm seeing a stellar cast, I'm seeing a unique and intriguing plot, I'm seeing a seasoned, established, and excellent director, cinematographers, all this kind of stuff, right? And say these individuals have a history of producing great work, then I'm going to say that this film has all the ingredients of something that should be great. So talking about the ingredients that make up a great film, or actually not even that make up a great film, just the ingredients that make up a film, I think for the vast majority of us, we really only kind of really focus on two: the storyline and the acting. And I think if you imagine all the ingredients of the film being on like a mixer, or like a mixer like a DJ might use, not a mixer like like for cooking, but like with dials like that you can sliders that you can like slide up or down or left or right or whichever, however your mixer may work. The sliders on the storyline and acting are always pushed way up to the top. And then the other things, more often than not, are kind of like background things that kind of just help it so that that they don't take away from the movie. Like it's very rare you will find a moviegoer that's go like, man, this film has amazing sound or an amazing score, because most of the time that stuff is kind of background to kind of just like hold your hand throughout the progress of watching this show, of watching this film or this television show. And it's rarely something that really jumps out to you. And what I think is so special about The Lighthouse is that The Lighthouse kind of turned down a little bit the cohesive plot and storyline. Like, this isn't so much a film about what happens to these characters. They bring the storyline dial down a bit. The acting one remains way the fuck up to the top, though. And then they systematically move up the cinematography, the music, the sound, the themes. Like, all of these things are at much higher levels than you would see in your average film. So when you have a film that has, instead of like, your sliders for storyline and acting are up here, and then your sliders for everything else are down here, that doesn't mean these things are bad. It just means that they're there to kind of complement these things. But when you come up like this, and you're sitting somewhere like maybe like right here, where everything is meant to be experienced and felt, it creates an entirely different experience. And this film, the cinematography, the sound, the music, the light, lighting is part of cinematography, but I kind of wanted to really shed a light on the lighting. This stuff is done to perfection, to really ratchet up the tension. And this movie is tense. It's scary at times. It's troubling and disturbing. And then sometimes it's actually really fucking funny. So like, they've got all that going for it, right? The acting performances. It is a crime that both Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe were not nominated for Oscars here, because I'm telling you, I don't want to put more emphasis on one over the other, but Willem Dafoe in particular, his character has this like this sailor kind of sea shanty vocabulary and dialect that is like, it's so over the top, and you could tell it's like they handed him the script and were kind of like, however far you want to go, you can go there. And he goes absolutely as far as he possibly can. And it's amazing to watch. And then Robert Pattinson starts kind of like more subdued, seems like a normal kind of guy. And then as the film progresses, his acting dial goes way the fuck up too. And side note on Robert Pattinson, this is a guy, he's going to get shit for Twilight for the rest of his career. And, maybe his Batman role will help stop that. But my God, if you watch this film, you can't help but be encouraged for what we're going to get, what kind of Bruce Wayne we're going to get. Bruce Wayne is going to be small potatoes for what he did in this film. I can tell you that much. That's going to be light work. So, really excited for that. So I want to get in a little bit into the film itself. In short, the film is essentially about Willem Dafoe's character mans a lighthouse. Robert Pattinson's character shows up on this island to help him work at the lighthouse. And over the course of time, these two have to interact with one another in very close quarters, and things get very awkward, very tense, very frightening. And you start to question the reality of everything that you've seen. That's generally the idea of this film. It's in black and white, and to call it black and white is almost like a disservice. It's not like they just turned the saturation all the way down. It's a combination of the lack of color, but then also, again, like I mentioned, like the lighting, really dark blacks, really bright whites, like so much contrast. graininess to the film itself, and this helps add to the tension. And it's like I mentioned at the top, there's so many different things that work so well with this film. Look, Willem Dafoe. So each character, both Willem Dafoe's character and Robert Pattinson's, have like monologues that kind of happen at times, right? And these monologues are fucking bonkers. I mean, like, there's one where Willem Dafoe's character curses, and when I say curses, I don't mean like swears at. I mean curses like he like puts a curse on him, kind of like he curses him. He curses Robert Pattinson's character for it's got to be like 5 minutes. It's one of those things where, like, you ever see those gags where think of the Family Guy gag where he falls down and where Peter falls down and hits his knee, and he's holding his knee and he's going and they pull that gag on for a really long time. And they've done it with when Peter fights the chicken. Family Guy does this a lot. And this rant, this curse that Willem Dafoe does, it's like it starts off like, oh man, this is wild. Then you gotta go, wow, this is going on really long. Then it goes like, okay, this is going on a little bit too long. And then it keeps going to the point where now it's funny again. And it's like this is fucking bananas. And then Robert Pattinson's response is just like top notch, right? He gets one as well that is absolutely phenomenal, where he basically talks about all the ways in which he hates Willem Dafoe's character. And it is, I mean, we talk about getting read and getting dragged. Like, man, he shits all over this guy. And it's hilarious. But again, it's also frightening. And that's something that this film does so well. Balancing like this humor with this intense feeling of dread and foreboding. It's phenomenal work. And then Willem Dafoe has another one where he essentially, oh God, what was he saying? It was again, it wasn't quite as long as The Curse, but we'll just say 3 minutes relative to 5. 3 minutes of him essentially saying, whatever I tell you to do, you're gonna fucking do it. But it's like it's one of those things where like you just have to see it. It's remarkable. I can't get over. I've been thinking about it ever since. Just these performances. And then the last thing that I want to talk about with this film is not the ending itself, but how the end of the film colors your view, no pun intended, of everything that you saw preceding it. I'm a big fan of open-ended endings, as long as they're done right, where there's proper evidence within the film to make both arguments viable. When I say both arguments, I'm referring to an open-ended film. I'm going to record a video on The Little Things shortly, probably for posting the day after this one. And The Little Things had an open-ended ending, which is essentially, did this guy commit this crime or not? And for an open-ended ending to work, there needs to be viable arguments for both sides. So there needs to be a good argument for yes, he committed the crime, and there needs to be a good argument for no, he did not commit the crime. And with this ending, essentially, like I said, you start to question everything that you saw prior. Like what was real? What was a hallucination? Because spoiler alert, this is the only spoiler I'm going to give, and it's not really a spoiler. There's some lunacy that takes place in this film. And you start to wonder, who's the crazy? Which one of them is crazy? How crazy are they? When did they start becoming crazy? Like, there's so many interesting questions that this film asks and makes you wonder. And you come out of it, and I stopped the film having what I feel as a pretty good understanding of what I just watched. But it's one of those things where, like, someone else can watch it and have an entirely different understanding of it. And when that happens, if you want these things to work, both of these explanations have to be viable. So that way each party can make a solid argument as to whether or not they feel like their ending is the quote unquote right one. And I feel like this is a film where you can have great conversation about who you feel is crazy, whether or not what happened in the film happened at all. Like, was all of this like a dream per se, which I know the tropey idea of it was all a dream is horrible. But I'm telling you, it's on the table for this film, and it works. I'll leave it at that. But I don't subscribe to that theory that it was all a dream, but I could see someone thinking that, and I would not say, you're a fucking idiot. There's no way this was a dream. So there's so much great stuff to love about this film. I recommend it at the highest level. But that is with the caveat that you understand that this is not a simple, I'm just going to sit here and watch this from start to end, and it's going to make sense the whole way, and it's going to flow in a normal linear fashion as you're accustomed to seeing in most films. This is not that. There's a whole lot of wild imagery. There's a whole lot of interesting thematic elements. There's a whole lot of interesting conceptual elements. There's a whole lot of, there's going to be moments where you're going to wonder what the fuck's going on right now. And that's something that you have to enter this film being comfortable with. If you can do that, enter this film with an open mind, with no more information about the film than what I just gave you, and understand and accept that you're not going to walk away from this feeling like everything was answered and everything is defined clearly and makes sense. If you're someone who's open to that, you will be richly rewarded for watching this film. It's fucking amazing. And I recommend it to the highest degree. So that's all I got for this one. I'll be back soon. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll be back with a review of The Little Things probably tomorrow. I'll have WandaVision on Friday. And then I wrapped up Gamora Season 3 the other day, so I'll have a Gamora Season 3 review probably coming Saturday, and then a Fight Talk on Sunday or Monday. I've kind of moved Fight Talk to Monday, just kind of almost Monday or even Tuesday, just out of the fact that just Sunday kind of just feels like a day where I just need to not do shit. So no promises for a Fight Talk on Sunday, but Monday probably. All right, that's it, guys. Rate, share, subscribe, all that good shit. Watch this fucking movie. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.